Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is, as always, Melvid, and today we're doing something a little bit different, where I was playing a hammer throw Paladin, and in the back of my mind, all I was thinking was, I wonder if this will work as a Void Knight. So I tried it, and today we're going to compare the two builds, and see where we come down on them. So, please like and subscribe if you like this video, and let's get right into it. So the core of this build uses the skill hammer throw for damage, and then using the chance to cast smite when on a throwing attack hit to also proc smite. There's two builds I think have a lot of potential for this. There's two versions of the build, I should say. The first is the Paladin. This is the tried and true hammered in staple of Diablo 2. The main high points of this build are just how absurdly tanky it gets. It's very easy to get to nigh immortal levels of tankiness with this without much gear investment at all, simply because of the passive tree of the Paladin. The second version is using a Void Knight, and this, I suspect, has the potential to out DPS the Paladin version by probably pretty close to 2 or 3 times. But you are less tanky overall, and you do rely on Leech to get for your survivability, for your recovery, rather. Both versions obviously use hammer throw, and in fact I like having pretty much the same tree on them, with only like 3 points varied. So primarily you're going to want to make them spin, get the additional projectiles, get the chance to deal double damage, and then I also like to make sure that their mana cost is somewhat more reasonable by grabbing the more damage and less mana cost node. And then the 3 points are difference are either going for the chance for hammers to heal you on hit or going for zeal. This is totally up to you. It really depends on what you need from the hammers. If you need a little bit more survivability, go for the heal. If you need a little bit more damage, go for the zeal. If you don't need more damage or heal, then go for zeal anyway, just because more damage is generally better. The second skill that both versions of the build use is smite. This is some big DPS. We're going for maximum smite damage on both versions with the enough of the life cost mitigation to feel comfortable. So if you're fine with only doing 4 of the 5 nodes for this, where you take 80% less of the life cost, then that's great. Put it more in crit. Generally, the safer option, though, is to negate the life cost entirely, because you are going to be hitting just so many hammers, and you're going to have so many smite procs that you'll pretty easily go down to very little health if you have even 1 point missing from that. The third skill both versions have in common is Shield Rush. This is our primary movement ability. It's great for long, straight stretches in echoes, but it's not so good for dodging. So if you're struggling with getting out of the way of AoEs, then you might want to invest in Lunge and see how that works for you, simply because that is quicker to move you. But Shield Rush is overall a benefit to you, I think, because while you're shield rushing, your hammers will still orbit you and basically clear entire screens as you're just moving through the echo. Now we get to the primary point of divergence. And so we're going to start with the Paladin skills, and then we'll move into the Void Knight skills. The first Paladin skill is Holy Aura. This is the Paladin skill. It passively adds a lot of resists, a lot of crit modifiers, and then you can activate it to double the mods for a brief period. This is an extremely strong skill. This is where we get most of our defenses from, along with quite a bit of damage, and is just basically a must-have for any Paladin, in my opinion. The second Paladin skill is Judgment. This provides a little bit of extra healing via the Consecrated Aura, plus some additional spell damage in an area around you. But primarily, this is the healing aura you get from the Consecration effect, and then also you can have it kind of discharge at the end to heal you and deal a slight bit more damage as well. The damage for this is mostly irrelevant in terms of the actual physical hit, but if you have a scepter, then at least it deals a little bit of something. For the Void Knight, our skill of choice is Anomaly. This is kind of like a Holy Aura at home. You do have to cast it. It is only active while it's active. But the cooldown to duration ratio isn't that bad. You only have like a second or two of downtime, really. This gives us quite a bit of leech. Just general leech, not tied to void damage or anything like that. So that works out great. It gives us some attack speed and some crit chance. So it just, again, it kind of takes the place of Holy Aura for the Void Knight version of the build. The last skill for the Void Knight is, of course, Sigils of Hope. This just provides a little bit of extra damage. Since we're taking the Void Knight conversion for the damage, just to scale our damage even further, it actually doesn't heal us, so it's literally just there for the damage. So you have it so that it auto casts on kill, or if you need to during a boss fight, then you can manually cast it as well. If you take the void conversion out, then you can actually still use this for the Paladin version instead of Judgment, if that fits the kind of playstyle that you like better. Now let's talk passives. For the Sentinel tree and the Forge Guard tree, they're both the same. Sentinel tree, you just need the same 20 points. Forge Guard tree, we're only grabbing the 1-point wonder. That is the block chance for it. For the Paladin version of the build, we're going to grab the health from the Void Knight tree, and then in the Paladin tree, we're grabbing just so much defense rather, and healing. There's a little bit of damage there, but mostly we're here for a long time, not a highly damaging time. For the Void Knight version of the build, we're going to dip into Pally for the block and health chance from the tree, and then also we need the 15 points for Sigils of Hope. In the Void Knight tree, we're going Echoes for our Hammer Throw damage, for Hammer Throw Echoes. We also need to make sure we grab the Leech, even though it is the melee Leech is not going to apply to us, but the Void damage Leech will apply both to the Smite, because we're taking the Smite conversion node, as well as the Void damage, the small amount of Void damage that we get on our hammers. And then after that, get the Vitality up to scale Smite even further. In terms of itemization, these two builds are the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme, where it's essentially exactly the same. The Smite idols are highly recommended for both builds. They are a must for the Void Knight version. simply because smite is where a large portion of the damage comes from, as well as a large portion of the leech, which is the only form of the Void Knight's recovery. They're a little bit less necessary for the Paladin version, but a good portion of our recovery comes from the smite heals. If you're using Judgment instead of Sigils of Hope, then it's even less of an issue. But just know that since there is no leech really for this version, for the Paladin version of the build, you're going to have a hard time recovering your health if you don't have the smite idols. Other than that, where one piece of equipment is a little bit less necessary for the Paladin than it is for the Void Knight, the equipment should be basically identical, where you're focusing on crit. General crit is better for both of them, simply because you want to crit with both your hammers and smite, and then you just need to focus on defense after that, with some increased damage of the relevant types, depending on which version of the build you're using. If you're going Paladin, then you want physical or fire. Physical is preferred because we don't really have a big smite boost in damage like the Void Knight does. If you're going Void Knight, then void damage is the only thing you care about. The physical damage you get from hammer throw is pretty negligible, but not zero. But it's not really what you're wanting to scale. Void scales both hammer throw damage and smite damage to a pretty decent degree. So, yeah, physical or fire for Paladin, void for Void Knight. And now comes the question of which of these builds is better. And that's a question that I don't necessarily have the answer to. The Paladin has a lot more defense, especially early on, especially without gear. So if you want to be tanky early, then the Paladin's your build. The Void Knight relies a little bit more heavily on gear, simply because you have to make up a lot of resists from it, and healing and health from your gear rather than from like just straight passive points like the Paladin gets to. On the other hand, the Void Knight has more damage by a fairly significant margin. I didn't actually do like a super scientific test or anything, but to me it felt like, I don't know, maybe twice-ish the amount of damage once I got the build going. So it really depends on what playstyle you prefer of, do you want the damage or do you want their survivability? One note before we wrap up the video is that Void Knight echoes don't echo smite cast by the idols, but they do echo the hammers, which will straight up result in more smites overall. But that is just something to know, where you're not just getting damage on damage on damage on damage. You only echo the hammers. And when you echo the hammers, if you have the orbit node, then not only are they thrown from you, but they orbit you as well, rather than the echo. So it just provides about 25% more hammers following you at any time. Other than that slight difference, the playstyles are basically the same. They have the same play patterns. So it's up to you whether you want damage or survivability. But that's going to wrap up the video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you liked the content. It really helps me out. It motivates me to keep doing this. And I like exploring new builds. And if you guys have any suggestions for builds to compare in the future where you don't know whether it would be better for one class to do it or another, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll more than happily test it out and get back to you guys. If you want to watch me experimenting with these builds in real time and maybe throw your input onto it, where you see that I may be doing something maybe a little bit less than optimal, or you have questions about why I've made the decisions I've made, then stop by my stream at twitch.tv/Melvede. I stream Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. EST to generally around 6 p.m. EST. So yeah, come stop by, say hi. Let me know what build you're doing, so then that way I can gank it and put it in a video. But anyway, again, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.